YouTube, how you doing? Murph here, bringing you another comparison video. Today's comparison is going to be between the brand new SCUF Instinct Pro versus the older Microsoft Elite Series 2 controller. Both really kind of have the same target audience, both in a similar price bracket. Now, this is not going to be a super in-depth review. I have done in-depth reviews on both of these controllers. If you're interested in that, look in the video description. I'll put a link to both of those if you want to check those out. This is not going to be super in-depth. This video is going to focus mainly on the similarities and differences between these two controllers and ultimately which one you should choose. Starting off with the similarities, obviously they're both the same size. They both can be used wired or wirelessly. They both feature similar designs and specifications. They also both feature these kind of rounded D-pads, which are really useful for certain types of games, especially fighting games. And of course, what most people are going to be concerned with is they each have 4 paddles on the back, as well as adjustable triggers. Now, moving into what sets these two controllers apart, there's some obvious and not so obvious differences between the two. Starting with the obvious, the SCUF actually has an onboard mute button right here on the bottom, which is really convenient. That's something that the Elite Series 2 is missing. So if you're somebody that plugs your headset directly into the bottom of the controller, that's something to keep in mind, especially if your headset doesn't have an inline mute button on the actual cable that runs to the controller. Another obvious difference that I can tell you about is that the Elite Series 2 does not have a battery compartment. It has a built-in battery that does get charged with an included cable versus the SCUF that has a compartment for 2 AA batteries. So if you're somebody that plays wirelessly, that's going to be something to keep in mind. Some people like having removable batteries so that they can always have like a spare set of AA's on deck to just throw in there versus the Elite Series 2 where you're going to have to plug that in to charge it. But there's other people that consider that a pro. Some people really like having a built-in battery that you could just charge at night and it's always ready to go. The other obvious difference here is with the Elite Series 2, what you see is what you get. This is the only configuration for the Elite Series 2, the only color scheme. The SCUF, on the other hand, is very customizable. If you head over to SCUF.com to customize this controller, you can change the color of the faceplate, the thumbsticks, the D-pad, the X, Y, A, and B buttons. You can even change the color of the bumpers, the triggers, and you can even choose to remove the rumble pack from the SCUF, making it lighter, and some people just choose to have the rumble packs removed anyways for competitive reasons. So if you're somebody that really likes to customize the controller and you really want to change the color scheme or anything like that, the SCUF is going to be the clear way to go. Now for some of the little more subtle but very important differences between the controller, I'll start off with the D-pad. Both of them have this kind of circular D-pad here, but they kind of use different approaches. This is a little bit more of a traditional shaped D-pad, whereas this on the Elite Controller 2 is almost multifaceted. And personally, I really like the design of the D-pad on the Elite Series 2. That's really going to come down to personal preference, but for me, I personally like the D-pad on the Elite Series 2 versus the SCUF Instinct Pro. Another key difference here is with the paddles on the back. The Elite Series 2 comes with 4 paddles, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And if you choose not to use all of the paddles on the Elite Series 2, you can actually just pull these right off, switch these around in any kind of configuration. You can leave 2 on one side and none on the other. You can use just the top or just the bottom for either of these. You can even take the top ones off and switch the bottom to the top and kind of flip them around in a different orientation. So very customizable with the paddles on the back for the Elite Series 2. Now for the SCUF, they're really less paddles than they are buttons that are inserted on the back of the controller. And you'll notice rather than stacking these buttons on the top and bottom like they did with the Elite Series 2, they just kind of placed them side by side here. And what I will tell you with that is that these 2 buttons, which are traditionally going to be mapped to A and B, the way your fingers rest on those is really comfortable and convenient. However, hitting the other two buttons beside them, traditionally what are mapped to the X and Y buttons, I find it a little bit of an awkward angle because you almost have to push into the side or even at a slight upward angle to hit those buttons versus the Elite Series 2 where you just push straight down to access all four. Again, that's going to be a big personal preference thing. There might be some people out there that actually think that the configuration for the SCUF is better than the Elite Series 2. And I completely understand that, but just in the interest of doing a proper comparison, I just want to let you know that for me personally, it is a little bit more of an awkward angle for the SCUF than it is for the Elite Series 2. And while both have the 4 paddles on the back, I tend to prefer the configuration just a bit more on the Elite Series 2. Now the final difference I want to talk about is with the actual adjustable triggers on the back. For the Elite Series 2, you have a 3-way adjustable trigger system with a short, medium, and long trigger pull, and you can adjust these independently. So if you want a really short trigger pull for, say, the fire button versus a long pull for the aim button, you can do that, or vice versa, or you can just match those and make those both a short, medium, or long trigger pull. Now compare that to the SCUF Instinct Pro. You've got 2 positions. You've got what is essentially a normal long trigger pull, and then you have a very short trigger pull. In fact, SCUF on their website refers to this as almost a mouse click like trigger, and I really think that's a spot on comparison. It feels and sounds like you're pressing a mouse button more so than an actual trigger. Now, which is better? That's really hard to say. Again, it's going to come down to a personal preference thing. Again, for me personally, I kind of like having some kind of a trigger pull, which for me would drive me towards the Elite Series 2. But SCUF does have a good thing going for it here because undoubtedly this is going to be the fastest option. It's hard to imagine having a shorter or faster trigger pull than what SCUF has done here with their hair triggers. Now, talking about pricing, the SCUF Instinct Pro retails for a starting price of $200, and I say starting price because those customization options that we talked about before with the colors, removing rumble packs, things like that can drive up the price of this controller from there, but the starting price is $200 for this versus the Elite Series 2, which is just a one solid flat $180. So the Elite Series 2 is at least $20 cheaper depending on your customization options. It can be even more than that. The other thing I want to mention is that this is a brand new controller from SCUF. It's only been out for a couple of weeks, and so it's hard to imagine that this is going to go on sale anytime soon versus the Elite Series 2, which has been out for, I don't know, at least a couple of years now. And this does go on sale relatively often, not just on third-party websites like Best Buy and Amazon, but also even directly from Microsoft. In fact, as I'm doing this review right now, this controller here is on sale directly from Microsoft.com for $158. So this is $42 cheaper than the SCUF, at least $42 cheaper, again, depending on the customization options, maybe more. So that is something to keep in mind as well, is the price difference between these two. Now, which one of these would I recommend that you purchase? Ultimately, these are both very well built and very well performing controllers. Realistically, if you go with either one, you're probably going to be very happy with your purchase. But if you're watching this video right now, you're probably trying to decide between the two. And so in the interest of helping you guys out, I'm just gonna let you know which one I would pick. And if it were me buying one of these two controllers, I would go with the Elite Series 2. Now there is a caveat to that. If you want to do any kind of customization to your controller, you're gonna wanna go with the SCUF. If you really wanna customize your controller, kind of make it your own, customize those colors, then the SCUF is the clear way to go. But if you like the way that the Elite Series 2 looks, then I would recommend going with this for a few reasons. One, again, the paddles on the back, at least for me, are in a little bit of a better configuration. They're a little bit easier to reach and to use. Also, while the hair trigger on the SCUF is very cool and ultimately is going to be I'm sure faster than what you have with the Elite Series 2, a little bit faster of an actuation. The shortest trigger pull on the Elite Series 2 is still gonna have a very fast actuation. And as a personal preference, I just like the fact that it's more of a trigger pull than a trigger click. And of course, pricing is a factor here as well. When you're talking at minimum a $20 price difference between the two, and depending on customization options for this, mixed with any sale prices for this, it could be a substantial price difference. You're talking 40, 50 bucks or more. So if it were me personally, I would tell somebody to buy the Elite Series 2. But again, if you want to customize your controller, this is a fantastic option, and SCUF did a really great job with this controller. And realistically, it doesn't matter which one of these you buy. If you're looking for a premium aftermarket controller with the paddles on the back and the adjustable triggers and all of that, either one of these are going to be a great choice. With that being said, that wraps up this video. If you guys found this useful or helpful at all, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see other content like this. And YouTube, we'll catch you later.